Hello dear friends, welcome to the channel BSc Classes Studies, and here we are talking about the Bryophytes discussion. Already in last two lectures we have discussed many things about Bryophytes. In your syllabus, University of Pune have given general character introduction and various classification forms. Out of them the GM Smith classification we have discussed in our last lecture. So myself, Professor Khodde Rishikesh, working in Department of Botany, SM Joshi College, Hadapsar, Pune, which is affiliated to the Savitribai Phule Pune University, Pune, and parent institute Rayesh Shikshan Samstha, Satara. So here we are beginning our third lecture on the Bryophyte with respect to the life cycle in Bryophytes. So for studying Bryophytes, there are various species. Out of almost 24,000 species of Bryophytes are available on planet Earth. Whatever we have discovered yet, discovery is ongoing. Out of them, for us, FYBSc level, only one example is given, which is very fortunate thing for you, which is a Riccia plant. So on the screen behind me, you can see the beautiful Riccia plant. So this plant we are going to study from externally, which is morphological sense, internally, which is anatomical sense, and with respect to the reproduction in Riccia. So what is this Riccia, how it looks, what are the peculiar characteristics of Riccia is the discussion point of today's lecture. So let's begin with the external point. Here on the screen you can see the picture of thallus of Riccia. The thallus is very small. Very small means up to 5 to 7 millimeter in length and 1 to 2 millimeter in thickness. So you must have imagined the size of the thallus is very small, which is we require magnifying glass to see detail about this Riccia plant. So Riccia from dorsal side is different, from ventral side is different. Dorsally you can see there is a dichotomous branching type pattern is present. In this figure, I am giving you figure so it will be easy for you to understand. Dichotomous type branching means there is a notch on tip of the every branch. Various smartphones are coming nowadays which contain notch camera. The notch is nothing but the depth like structure, and from the dorsal side there is a groove like structure which is present, which is facilitating the water transport like pipeline structure, where gametes get entered and travel through the mid groove from the dorsal side. And from the ventral side of the thallus you will find there are numerous rhizoids are present. These rhizoids, what are they doing in this Riccia plant? These rhizoids are performing the water absorption as well as they are helping the Riccia plant to stay on the surface. If water comes in a very vast flow, these Riccia do not leave their place because these rhizoids attaching them to the surface in very tight manner, because the number of rhizoids is very huge. Although they are very microscopic, they are unicellular. In Riccia, the rhizoids are of two different types, smooth walled and tuberculated walled. The difference is between them is that the tuberculated rhizoids are somewhat modified or advanced as compared to the smooth walled rhizoids. So we have seen the morphological features of this Riccia plant. Let's go into the detail of anatomical feature of this Riccia plant. Anatomical features need to be studied by taking the section of the plant. So there are various ways available to take sections: transverse section, vertical section, lateral section. So transverse section is the best way to study the plant's anatomy. Wherever you are studying stem, root or leaf or thallus like Riccia, we generally take TS, and here is the image of TS of Riccia thallus. Here you can find there are two regions are present, the upper region and lower region. The lip-like structure, why this is lip-like structure? Already we have discussed that from the upper side there is a mid groove, that's why the portion is look like a lip of human being. So the upper zone and lower zone are the two zones present in Riccia. Upper zone is photosynthetic and lower zone is storage zone. Whatever the photosynthetic activity is going on, producing the starch are stored in the lower zone, which is storage zone. The upper zone showing some peculiar characteristics, the columns of the cells which are showing the gaps between them. But you have to remember that Riccia are of two types, Some are living in the terrestrial region, means on the land, some are living in directly inside the water. The Riccia which are living in the water shows no air spaces, and Riccia which are living on the land shows such air cavities. The TS of the diagram showing the Riccia which is living on the land, which is living on the terrestrial habitat. Okay, what are these air pores are doing here? Air pores are involving the gaseous exchange phenomenon. Which gases generally they have to exchange? They releases oxygen, takes carbon dioxide. So these types of reactions are going on with the help of the air pores which are present on the upper surface. Each cell shows the conspicuous chloroplast. The chloroplast is highlighting feature of each cell, where you can see the chloroplast is performing the photosynthesis, light and dark reaction, you know very well that. So the light should bombard upon the upper surface. That's why the photosynthetic region is at the above, and whatever the food is prepared will be sent to the storage region, which is very bottom of the thallus. These cells which are performing the storage function, they store the food in the form of starch. Always remember this. In case of animals, they store food in the form of glycogen and fat. In plants, they store food in the form of starch. Always. So the cells which are storing the starch as food material are known as parenchymatous cells. These cells are always thin walled because they have to extend. For example, our tummy when we eat get come outside. Like that, these parenchymatous cells wall are very thin. They are stretchable and they are known as parenchymatous cells of storage region, and bottom to the storage region there are rhizoids are present. So it is very fascinating and interesting how these all cell layers are interconnected with each other and performing the function. So whatever we have seen up till is the vegetative nature of the Riccia thallus, upper region, lower region, and the morphological feature of the Riccia thallus with the help of photographs. Now it's time to look at their reproduction methodology. Whatever the strategies they are applying for generation maintenance, for making the new generation, what is reproduction we are calling as. So in the reproduction scenario, these Riccia plants have two different methodologies. Already we have discussed in our first lecture, if you remind, about the vegetative method and sexual method of reproduction. We will discuss them in separate manner. Here first I have taken the point of vegetative method of reproduction in case of Riccia plant. So vegetative reproduction involves direct involvement of thallus. So please remember, the thallus of Riccia is gametophytic in nature. Gametophytic means they directly releases gametes. That is gametophytic. Sporophytic means they directly releases spores. The higher plants which we see nowadays, mango plant, eucalyptus plants, all these plants are of sporophytic in nature. They release spores in air. But the bryophytic plant releases gametes. So there is distinction. So it's okay, reproduction by the vegetative portion takes place by various manners. First type is the drying, or the part which is going to dead. Means if there is a dry condition, if there is no water condition, what will happen? The water from the thallus will go away into the atmosphere and thallus will be start to dry. So the drying thallus will react in such a way that the apical portion of the thallus, the dichotomous portion of the thallus will be capable to produce new generation, because the apical portion is very special. It retains some amount of water. So when the rainy season comes, the contact with water, that apical portion will give rise to the new bryophytic plant, new Riccia plant. The another type of vegetative reproduction is with the help of rhizoids itself. So rhizoids we have seen they are performing absorption as well as giving support. These rhizoids are also have seen involved in reproduction purposes. The rhizoids goes deeper into the soil and come out with the new thallus. So this is very remarkable feature. In some cases of Riccia, it has been seen that these Riccia produces tuber-like structure to their thallus, which tuber-like structures are capable of give rise to the birth to the next generation. So this tuber-like structure get detached from the parent thallus and fall on the ground and give rise to the new generation. Where in another method of vegetative reproduction, where it has seen that some Riccia produces advantageous branches. So some branches are produced by the thallus which are specialized for the purpose of reproduction of new generation. Means what? Among the region of thallus, such branches are produced by the plants itself. These branches, when touch the ground, produces new thallus. So we have seen 4 different types of vegetative method of reproduction in Riccia, where we have seen for continuation of species, these Riccia have adopted the new methodologies which are very incredible. So after looking at vegetative reproduction type in Riccia, it's our duty to move upon the sexual reproduction in Riccia. So for that, in last lecture we have discussed about the vegetative and reproductive format differences. In reproductive scenario, we have seen there are reproductive organs in Riccia. So which are these reproductive organs? Obviously the male reproductive organ and female reproductive organ. The male reproductive organ is known as antheridium and female reproductive organ is known as archegonium. So antheridium produces male gametes and archegonium produces female gametes. So the male gamete and female gametes are involved in the reproduction. The gametes have size differences. So size differences is there, that's why this type of reproduction is known as oogamous type of reproduction, which is I have told you in last lecture. So oogamous type of reproduction, for that we have to see in detail about the differences in reproductive organs. So let's get in detail about each organ. First we will talk about the antheridium, that is the male reproductive organ. Okay. So on the screen you can see the antheridium structure. The development of antheridium start from the superficial antheridial cell which are situated on the dorsal surface of the thallus. The dorsal surface means upper surface. Female reproductive organ which is known as an archegonium. Whatever we have discussed about the antheridium is applicable here for archegonium as well. The development of archegonium start from the dorsal surface of the thallus from the single superficial cells. The scenario is same for antheridium and archegonium. So the mature archegonium will definitely look like this. How? The mature archegonium is nothing but the flask shaped structure which is embedded in thallus. Please point out this. The antheridium is trying to come out of thallus, whereas archegonium is embedded inside the thallus. So after looking at the brief explanation of reproductive organs in Riccia, this description is respect to the differences in sex organs in Riccia, but whatever the case, this sex organ produces gametes. So we are talking here about the fertilization point in Riccia. In fertilization, we know very well when two gametes united, it is known as fertilization. But when antheridial chamber comes in contact with water, the antheridial chamber start to dissolve by swelling the cell and get rupture, and anthrozoids releases into the water. This water takes anthrozoids. Anthrozoids have 2 flagella. They swim into the water and reach up to the neck canal cell of archegonium. Neck canal cell and venter canal cell are the region of archegonium where after getting the contact with water, these cells also get swells in archegonium case. So they start to absorb water and produces some proteins and start to absorb phosphorus and some chemical reactions going on there. So the anthrozoids come in contact with the venter canal cell and reaches up to the egg cell. The egg cell is situated in the venter, which is flask-like structure. So the male gamete and female gamete finally unites together and result in the formation of zygote. This is the fertilization stage. Fertilization includes up till the union of 2 gametes only. Beyond the fertilization, the topic comes under the embryogenesis, that is the formation of embryo. So the single cell zygote, which is diploid or oospore, enlarges until it completely fills the cavity of the venter of archegonium. So please remember this, after union of male and female gamete, the venter canal cell, which shows some space or gap, the egg after getting united with the male gamete start to cover whole region in venter. So the development of sporophyte by the zygote through the embryo formation stage, zygote divides first by transfer division to form almost equal size of cell. The second division is right angle to the first division, means you can see here plus type of sign is developed. From one cell there are 4 cells are developed, which represent the quadrant stage. The next division is also vertical but is right angle to the first. So 8 cell structure or 8 cell stage is resulted, which is called as octant stage. The cells of the octant divide in all possible plane to form spherical mass of 20 to 40 cells. So the cells of peripheral region divide by the periclinal division to form outer layer of the amphithesis and the central mass of cell called endothecium. So the amphithecium and endothecium are two types of the cells of embryo. Endothecium means insider cell and amphithecial means outsider cell. The central mass of the cell called endothecium, the cell of amphithecium divide only by acticlinal division to form a single layer of sterile jacket of capsule wall, which is protective in nature, while the endothecium cell form the archisporium. The cells divide and redivide to form mass of sporogenous tissue, which is present in sporophyte. So you must have been clear now. In last lecture we discussed about the sporophytic sporogenous tissue, from where they come. There is a difference in every class of the bryophyte. So mature sporogonium, the mature sporogonium is represented as it contains the spore inside, and rupturing of the sporogonium releases the spore. These spores are very small, almost 0.05 to 0.12 millimeter in diameter. They are haploid, uninucleate and pyramidal in shape. Each spore remains surrounded by 3 layers, and outermost ornamented cutaneous layer called exosporium. We are talking about the spore. The middle layer called mesosporium and innermost layer is called endosporium. So friends, we have reached up to the spores, and these spores after release into the atmosphere will certainly land somewhere, definitely. After landing on the ground, after coming in the contact with water, these spores start to germinate and start to produce filamentous like structure in case of massae. And in case of liverwort and hornwort, these spores may directly develop into the thallus directly. So if you talk about the filamentous structure in massae, which is very advanced form, which is very different from other. So this filamentous structure is somewhat is like that. They start to propagate the area like hyphae in the fungi. And this protonema structure, after a certain period, Q rises to the birth to the new gametophyte. So I think it must be clear for you now what these spores are doing for the sake of reproduction purposes. So here I am presenting the diagram of overall reproduction in Riccia. There are 2 phases, sporophytic phase and gametophytic phase. Sporomatic generation or gametophytic generation are the 2 parts of the generation in overall life cycle. That's why it is called as alternation of generation. But remember, the sporophytic phase is very small, whereas gametophytic phase is very large. And the gametophyte is independent and sporophyte is dependent upon the gametophyte. So friend, if you look in our syllabus once again, we have completed up till various points. But the last and final point is remaining in this chapter of bryophytes, that is the utilization of bryophytes. So what is utilization? We already have studied about utilization terminology in our chapter number 3rd, lichen, where we have said utilization means the uses or the applications. Here the bryophyte utilization means the bryophyte applications or bryophyte uses, at which areas bryophytes are used by human being, as well as ecological perspective also. The first utilization of bryophyte is the bryophytes are used as ecological indicator. So what they indicate? The soil which contain various types of ions and metals. If the soil is very rich in copper, then in that soil you will find Marcia linguulata name bryophyte will definitely grow. So whenever you find this type of bryophyte is growing, you can determine on that there is a copper in the soil and you can extract that copper for your various purposes. Also there is another bryophyte known as Nardia scleracis. So this Nardia scleracis grow in the soil which contain higher amount of iron. So we have seen copper indicator and iron indicator of bryophyte plant. Now the bryophytes are also used as preventive measure for soil erosion. So whenever a particular soil start to erode, the important portion of the soil which is used by the plant for growing purpose, the eradication process very harmful in environmental perspective. Bryophytes prevents that soil erosion. Next application is utilization of bryophyte in agriculture point of view. As we know, bryophytes grows near to the water. They have tendency to retain water within them. So the use of bryophyte in agriculture to maintain the soil in moist condition, automatically it will help retain good water quality in the soil, which will affect positively upon the agriculture. The third application or utilization is bryophytes are also used as a fuel in various industries, because these bryophytes, for example sphagnum, are used currently in Scotland as a fuel. The fourth importance of bryophyte is a pharmaceutical industries. The sphagnum leaves acts as an antiseptic in properties which healing the wound. The mercantia are used against the diseases which are such as pulmonary tuberculosis. You know very well what is tuberculosis. As well as we have said in first lecture, these bryophytes are used in treatment of various liver infections. So various bryophytes are useful for various purposes, such as Polytrichum commoni is the name of bryophyte which is used to treat the kidney stone, which is very common problem in everywhere. So with this we have seen the uses of bryophyte also along with the life cycle phenomenon. Friends, with this I will conclude that we have completely covered or considered, that is bryophyte study. In this chapter bryophyte study we have studied about general character, introduction, their different classes, their vegetative features, their reproductive features, their life cycle. So many points we have discussed. So thank you for giving your time to watch this lecture. I know it's not easy to remember each and every word, that's why the revision is necessary. So I will request you to watch this video again and again. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe this channel so you will get automatic notification. We will meet in our next chapter. Till, take care, see you.